Yo, what's going on, guys? Cleveland Sports TV here, and today I'm going to talk more Cleveland Browns football, and in particular what they need to do to win the AFC North in 2019, to compete, to come on top of the division, to finally beat the dreaded Steelers, to beat the Ravens, to beat the Bengals, just to really be the champions of the AFC North. And God, does it feel good to actually be talking about this and to actually have a feeling that it may happen and that it could happen. But before I get into any of this and all of this, guys, I just want to say one thing, and I want to say thank you guys for all the continuous support. I know I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces in each one of my videos. The comment section has been kind of lighting it up of late. All the likes, the new subscribers, we're over 1,200 subscribers, so we're pushing that. We're going to be starting to push for that 2,000 subscriber mark. So I just want to say thank you guys, and I appreciate the support. Do not forget to like this video, subscribe if you want to see more Cleveland sports content, and go ahead and comment down in the comment section anything it has to do with the video, Cleveland sports related, Cleveland Browns related. If you disagree, if you do agree, whatever it may be. I think discussion is the best part of this channel. That's what I want to be the best part of this channel. So yeah, thank you guys for all of that. But yes, today's video we're going to talk about what the Browns need to do to win the AFC North, and finally put away the Steelers, finally put away the Ravens, and I just want Cleveland to be able to say we are the champions of the AFC North. 28 years old, I have not been able to say that very often, if any at all, and I just want to see continued success out of this football team. And man, would I love to win the division this year with Baker Mayfield and company. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and let's get to it. All right, so I'm gonna go over what the Browns need to do to get to that next level, what they need to do to come on top of the division, what do they need to do to finally put the Steelers, the Ravens away, so on and so forth. And I'm gonna start off by talking about John Dorsey and his continued success from last year and on hitting on the draft. The Browns are picking at pick 17 this year, something that we're definitely not used to as Brown fans. Don't need a franchise quarterback this year. We don't need to be worried about who we're going to take number 3, 4, 5 overall, and if they're still going to be there, and if that person's going to be taken right ahead of them. We can really just focus on best player available this year, and it's a good feeling. It's more of a more comfortable feeling. And I really want to see the Browns take defense in the first 2 rounds. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I'm not John Dorsey. I'm sure John Dorsey has this brilliant plan, and man, when I say I trust John Dorsey, I trust you, John. You got me. However, if the Browns do go defense in round 1, I think it has to be somebody who could come in, whether it's offense or defense in round 1. The first 3 rounds of the draft this year, it needs to be guys who are ready to come in and make an impact on this football team today. We already have a plethora of young talent, guys who are coming into their own, guys who are getting better year by year, guys who can potentially help us long term. But this year, I really want to see guys who can be plugged in and help us right away. We saw that with a few picks this year. One who you see on the screen now, Antonio Callaway, Jannard Avery. Both of those guys were taken later in the draft. Obviously, Denzel Ward, obviously Baker Mayfield. So John Dorsey did a hell of a job on drafting guys who came in and made an impact right away. And all I want to do is see that continue into the 2019 season, especially with pick 17 and so on down the line. For me, and not that this matters, but the 2 guys I really hope the Browns can find a way to get if they're still on the board. I hope they're still on the board. Devin White out of LSU and Dexter Lawrence out of Clemson. Either one of those 2 guys on the board at pick 17. As a fan, that's who I would like to see the Browns go and get. To me, I think Devin White would make the biggest impact on this team. I think the Browns would benefit tremendously from a guy like Devin White out of LSU. Just my personal opinion, doesn't really have too much to do with this video. I just wanted to say it, really. Let's move on, though. Secondly, I want to talk about what John Dorsey and the Cleveland Browns front office should do in free agency. I'm one of the proponents. I'm one of those guys who really don't want to spend the entire cap space that we have. Reason for that being is we have a team full of 21 to 24-year-old guys, and a lot of these guys are going to need signed eventually. So I'm all in on saving as much money as possible to re-sign your own talent, to re-sign guys who come up, you know, who are on contract years, who have helped this team turn it around, who have helped this team really just flourish under the John Dorsey system. So if we can save as much money as possible, that would be great, because obviously we have to sign Myles Garrett to a max contract soon. If Baker Mayfield goes on to have another great year like he did last year, I can really see them already extending him after the 2019 season. You're going to have to re-sign Schobert, Denzel Ward. I mean, the list goes on and on. So there are a bunch of young guys that the Browns need to sign. So I really want the front office and John Dorsey to save as much money as possible. However, with that being said, there is room to spend, you know, some. There is room to go out and get 1 or 2 Pro Bowl type guys on this roster. And for me, I think the Browns really need to sign either a defensive tackle, a defensive end, or an outside linebacker. I'm not saying they need to sign one of each, but if they can get 1 or 2 studs at 2 or 3 of those positions, that would be amazing. Some guys that come to mind off the top of my head. And some of these guys might be franchise tag. I understand that. However, you have Trey Flowers from New England, who I'm positive that the New England Patriots are going to move on from. So Trey Flowers could be a huge help for this defense on the defensive line, especially opposite side of Myles Garrett. Grady Jarrett from the Atlanta Falcons, one of the best defensive tackles in all of football, would really be nice next to Larry Ogunjobi. Larry Ogunjobi, more of a pass rush defensive tackle. You have Grady Jarrett, who can kind of do it all. And then third, I would like to see a guy like Anthony Barr or D Ford, even though I know D Ford doesn't really fit the need. He's more of an edge rusher. Reminds me a lot of Jannard Avery, but an outside backer or a linebacker who's a stud who can do it all. So 2 out of 3 of those positions, if we can really just capitalize on a free agency, that would be amazing. Like I said, I don't want to spend all of our cap space in 1 year. However, there is room to spend. My guy is, as of this point today, when this video is being made, is Trey Flowers, just because I know he's going to be available, because I know he'd be a great complement to Myles Garrett. And to have 2 Pro Bowl type defensive ends is a championship pedigree as far as a franchise goes. I know Emmanuel Ogbah has been a pretty good player. He just really hasn't risen to the occasion. He hasn't really filled up the hype that I thought he would have. And a lot of people think that he might be a tad better suited to play D-tackle in some formation. So I think the Browns need a second edge rusher on the outside, opposite of Myles Garrett. Trey Flowers is my guy. If they need to spend big, that's a guy that they should be spending big on. However, hopefully they save as much money, like I said. Let's move on, though. Third, the wide receiver core. We have a bunch of guys who are capable of playing wide receiver in the NFL, but we don't have a bunch of studs. Jarvis Landry comes to mind as far as a Pro Bowl talent. However, he's more of a slot receiver. He's not your true number 1. Rashad Perriman came in last year. He really had an impact on the offense. He didn't catch too many balls. I think he caught like 15, 16 passes total for the year, but he was a threat. He was a deep ball threat. We were able to use him as a decoy. Defenses had to respect him deep down the sidelines, which helped open up the middle of the field for guys like Higgins, Callaway, Landry, tight ends, so on and so forth. So I'd really like to see the Browns go out and re-sign Perriman, just because of his success he had with Baker, for one, success that he hasn't had at the NFL level since he's been in the league, but for 2, because he is an absolute threat on that outside. And the Browns, you know, and if they're not going to go out and spend big money on a threat, if they're not going to trade for a threat, I'd like to see Perriman come in because of what I'm saying. He's a threat. He helps open up the middle of the field. Defenses have to respect him over the top, and it really helps guys like Jarvis Landry, Higgins, Callaway, and Njoku as far as the middle of the field and towards the flats. And then, you know, obviously I just need the wide receiver core as a whole to continue growing. Last year it was their first year with Freddie Kitchens and Baker Mayfield, and in the last 8 weeks of the season they really played well. Pro Football Focus, I believe, had them as the top 3 or 4 wide receiving core in all of football as far as the Pro Football Focus grades go. Are they the 3rd or 4th best receiving core in all of football? Probably not, but as far as their grades go and how they saw them as a whole, route running, so on and so forth, it just shows you that the success can be there. So I just want to see guys like, you know, Callaway, who was a rookie last year. I want to see him continue to grow. I want him to build into a bigger NFL body. Not that he's huge, but he needs to, you know, get more cut. It'll help out with speed, route running. I need to see him get some stronger hands. Way too many drop balls out of Callaway. But I do think Callaway has amazing potential. Guy that comes to mind for me for Callaway is Deshaun Jackson. I really think Callaway can be a Deshaun Jackson type of receiver. Higgins, I believe that a lot of people sleep on how good Rashad Higgins can actually be. Obviously, he needs to be re-signed. But what I'm trying to say is I just want to see this young nucleus of wide receivers just continue to grow with young Baker Mayfield, young Freddie Kitchens, and become an actual threat for years to come. But let's move on. I got a little small list here. This is what YouTube is all about. Just a little piece of paper. That's all you need, chat. That's all you need, guys. All right, so let's move on. So next, I'm going to talk about the offensive line play. The offensive line play needs to continue to play the way it did at the end of 2018. I don't know the exact stats. I know that the Browns had something like 2 total sacks for the last 4 or 6 weeks of the year. Something crazy like that. A total of 2 sacks for the last 4 to 6 weeks of the season. When is the last time you've been able to hear or been able to say that the Cleveland Browns quarterback was only sacked 2 times in 4 to 6 weeks? Never. It's never happened. They're always on the ground. Always. So I want to see the offensive line play continue to play well. I want to see them re-sign Greg Robinson at left tackle. He just seemed to kind of fit here. He hasn't really played well anywhere he's been. A former top 10 pick. A lot of people were calling him a bust. The Cleveland Browns took a chance on him last year, signed him, and he fit right in, played well with the offensive line. If he can continue to grow and play well at the left tackle spot, then the Browns are going to be cooking at the offensive line because they have Pro Bowl talent at the left guard, center, and right guard position. And if Greg Robinson can play like he did at the end of last year and continue to get better, the offensive line is just going to continue to succeed, which in turn helps out the running game, protects Baker Mayfield, which is huge. Obviously, we need to protect the franchise guy. So if the offensive line can continue to play like it did at the end of last year and carry that over into the 2019 season, that is a huge piece of the success for the 2019 season. And lastly, what I think the biggest need is, the biggest need for 2019, if the Browns can do this, if the Browns can finish in the top 10 in this category, which I know they have a long way to go, but if they can finish in the top 10 of this category, I truly believe that they will win the AFC North, and they will be a threat come playoff time. The Cleveland Browns need to stop the run and be a lot better at getting to the quarterback and just play better as a front seven as a whole. They have pieces there. Myles Garrett, Joe Schobert, Kirksey coming back. I haven't forgot about you, Kirksey. Larry Ogunjobi, who I believe is on his way to being a Pro Bowl type defensive tackle. Maybe not this year, but he has the tools. And he had a good year last year. He lacks at run stopping, but he is great at getting to the quarterback. He's great with different blitz packages, stunts, great footwork. He can continue to get better. That would be amazing. But the Browns front seven needs to improve as a whole. I think they need to address it in free agency and the draft. If they want to make some trades to address it, that would be great too. But for the first 2 rounds of the draft and whatever they do in free agency, big money wise, they need to address that front seven. They need to stop the run. The Baltimore Ravens ran for 300 plus yards on the Browns in that final week, and the Browns still probably should have beaten the Ravens that week. The Browns were ran all over on themselves all year. I think they were 29th, 30th or something like that in run stopping. It was brutal. They couldn't stop anybody. They couldn't stop a nosebleed. If I was at halfback going up against the Cleveland Browns, I probably could have ran for like 11 yards. Just saying. So stopping the run, getting to the quarterback, covering tight ends, covering outside runs, pitches, sweeps, reverses. We need to be quicker, faster, and more dominant on that front seven. I think if that happens with the front seven, it's going to improve cornerback play. It'll improve safety play. It'll let us bring up more guys into the box to blitz. The front seven play is the absolute biggest need for the Cleveland Browns. It's not wide receiver. It's not kicker. It's not offensive tackle. It's not safety. It's not corner. It is the front seven, and specifically the run stopping. Once the Browns are able to do that, if they can finish in the top 10 in the NFL in stopping the run, good night. The Cleveland Browns will be a force to be reckoned with in the AFL. Well, obviously the AFL, the NFL, and especially the AFC North. So my biggest concern, the biggest need And the biggest focal point for this offseason in order to win the AFC North is stopping the run and front seven. Oh my goodness, there goes Chubb. Look at him. That's another thing. I'm telling you guys, they need to find a way to utilize him just a tad more. And probably the running game as a whole. Obviously, they have Kareem Hunt now. Still have Duke Johnson. Nick Chubb, who already solidified himself as one of the NFL greats already. Yes, Baker Mayfield's great. The passing game is great. But if they can find a way to help utilize that running game, which will open up play action, which will open up deep balls, which will extend plays, give Baker Mayfield more time in the pocket, it will go a long way. However, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't be afraid to hit that like button. Like I said, subscribe if you want to see more Cleveland sports content. Do not forget to comment down in the comment section anything and everything Cleveland that you want to talk about. I try to reply to every single person. I love the discussion. That's my favorite part of making content. I'm still new at this, guys. I'm trying to get better. More videos should be coming definitely throughout the week, throughout the year. And yeah. Go Browns, and everybody have a good day. Peace.